Ireland's Classic Kids Radio. It's Trina Mara, and we're always delighted to have Selene Daly on the show, registered advanced nurse practitioner. Selene, how are you?
Hi, how you doing?
You're always talking about protecting our skin from the sun, about the dangers of sunbeds, and we hear that the Tánaiste Micháel Martin is calling for sunbeds to be banned. This must be music to your ears.
It's brilliant. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of Micháel Martin because Micháel Martin was the very person who brought in the smoking ban, which has made such a significant difference to our lives in Ireland. And remember, Ireland was one of the first countries to actually bring on a smoking ban. And I'm old enough to remember the bars when the smoking went outside, and it was just incredibly brilliant. Yeah. And I mean, so wonderful. When I was a child, everyone's house, everyone smoked inside, and it was absolutely horrible as well as being bad for your health. So really, Micháel is amazing. To even, he's answering questions at all, but he's, giving it serious consideration. So I suppose just for listeners to know that sunbeds are a level 1 carcinogenic. And what does that mean? Well, the World Health Organization looked at sunbeds a few years ago, got out the evidence along with the International Association for Radiation, and they found that sunbeds are to skin cancer as smoking is to lung cancer. Effectively now, there are more cases of skin cancer due to sunbed use than there are of lung cancer due to smoking. So you have a very high chance of developing a skin cancer if you use a sunbed. And that's just, I suppose, the scientific facts that we know about sunbeds, and we are very worried about people using sunbeds. It seems that it's very hard to get an actual figure on it, but the wonderful people in Cork did some fantastic research, and there's a South Infirmary, Victoria Hospital and University College Cork, and they found over 41% of people have used a sunbed, and about 10% of those people have used a sunbed in the last year. What we've spoken about before is what seems to be trending, particularly on TikTok and on Instagram, is people using an illegal drug called melanotan, a drug you should not buy or use. So I'm a nurse tutor and I'm a life coach as well, and I'm fascinated with health and how we can be more healthy. And really what doesn't work is if we kind of wag our finger and tell people, you shouldn't be doing that, you're very bold, don't do that again. What we really want people to do is to become informed about their own health. Now, whether that's exercise, eating the right foods, not smoking, and mental health, that people need to kind of take on board their own health for themselves and have ownership of it. Well, it's a great idea to ban them, and I would love to see them banned. It's going to be a difficult ask because you have to police this thing, which will be difficult. The Australian model is different. In the early 1980s, Australia started SunSmart. Now, when I say they started SunSmart, they had jingles, they had movements in schools, they had very powerful and quite upsetting advertisements on TV as well. They used to hire vans to drive around beaches with a foghorn and say, please put on your sunscreen, you're going to get burnt, you could get skin cancer. So anyone that's in Australia will know this. So friends of mine that went down a few years ago said they got sunburned the first day. Of course, Irish people going to Australia got sunburned the first day, went into a pharmacy to ask for something, and the guy ran them from the pharmacy. He was disgusted, wouldn't even sell them anything because it's ingrained in them. And now people in their 40s in Australia have always been SunSmart. So Australia only brought in the sunbed ban, part of it, in the last few years, and it was basically no big deal because nobody used sunbeds anyway.
Used them anyway. Can I ask you, Selene, does it matter how long? Do you know the way people go, oh sure, I only did a few minutes because I had a wedding coming up or I had a communion coming up, it was only a few minutes. Does it matter whether it's only a few minutes or whether you use them religiously? All
of it matters. So any sunbed use under the age of 18 gives an increase of between 50 and 75% of developing a skin cancer in later life, and that's any use, even once, under the age of 18. And then any use of sunbeds, even every couple of years, again gives a significant increase in the chance of developing skin cancer. So even once, even twice, even the amazing thing about your skin is it remembers everything. It's like a wife that's been annoyed by your husband, so it remembers absolutely everything that you've done to it before. So your skin remembers that holiday in Lanzarote when you got burnt, that time you were down in Dublin and you were on the beach and you got burnt, and you were outside somebody's house, that time you're in the sunbed. And we all have a UV clock within us, if you imagine that. And we can only take so much UV before our skin cells change, the DNA changes deep within it, and it becomes permanently damaged, and then you get a skin cancer. So sunbeds emit, it seems, or we think, 10 times more light than the natural sun itself. And just once doing that with a skin type 1, which is a fair skin type, green eyes, blue eyes, freckles, burn easily, that, and you layer that on top of all the other sun exposure we have, it's a very dangerous cocktail. And really, you shouldn't use them at all. And again, I suppose I've been talking about this for a long time, and I know there's people that work with me that are terrified to see me. They've been in the holidays. I really don't mean to bring on anxiety in people. It's just that I do want to let people know so they can make an informed decision, that they know if they're going to use a sunbed, that it is a very risky thing to do. This is not passive. It's not a beauty treatment. It's not healthy. It's actually very dangerous for you. And we're going to accept that. The problem, or the thing that we do, particularly as women and possibly young people as well, we never think that something's going to happen to us. We think that's for other people. So other people get cancer, other people have heart disease, other people have issues from smoking. I'll be fine. Because you really want to get that chance. You think, oh, sure, look at that. You know, that woman talking on the radio, they're a bit fussy about it. It's not that. We actually have the science to say that using a sunbed significantly increases your chances of having skin cancer.
Isn't it scary when you think some people are hiring these for their houses and they have them set up in the box room and they're using them all the time?
And this is the really terrifying bit. And this is the problem, is, again, if people are thinking, even when it came in, the ban came in for under 18s, I remember that well, because that was so significant at the time. It was 10 years ago now, would you believe it? And at the time I was working, we were doing a little bit of research about sunbeds, and they talked to me about sunbeds a lot. Now, listen, I've used sunbeds myself. Before I did dermatology, I used sunbeds, and I did know there was a risk with them, but I thought I was early 20s and I wanted a tan, and that was it, and I didn't care what happened. I didn't think ahead. It's when I started doing dermatology, when I started working in the dermatology unit, and I seen patients come in with skin cancer, and I seen people come in that had to use sunbeds and then develop a cancer or some sun damage after. And I tell you, it was the most sobering experience of my life. I immediately put on that factor 50, put the hat on, sunglasses, stayed in the shade, and never used a sunbed again. Now, that was a privileged experience for me because I got to work in a hospital environment like that and seen that firsthand. But other people don't, so they don't equate the two things together. And even if you don't think you will develop skin cancer, a sunbed will aid you incredibly. Just think about people who live in Spain and Italy and France who are older, and the wrinkles and the lines and the pigmentation that get in their skin. That can happen to you as well when you're using a sunbed, especially if you're using it frequently like some people are. So, just be aware that, yes, you have a very significant chance of having skin cancer, and you will definitely age your skin faster no matter what they tell you if you use a sunbed. And, the funny thing is, I'm in my mid-40s now, and when I, again, was 20, I thought 40 was ancient. I never, God, I used to look at people who taught me were in their 20s and I thought they were old. So, the thing about it is we never think we'll get old. We never think we'll be bothered when we get old. You think, oh, sure, I won't bother. Well, I can tell you, you will be bothered about how you look in your 40s, right up to your 70s, 80s, and 90s. I'm just remembering that I have an 18-year-old daughter. She was born in 2006. And it's thought that kids that were born in 2006 will live until they're 100 years old. And you need your skin for your full life. And as well as the rest of your organs, because your skin's an organ, like your heart, lungs, liver, you have to respect that skin and protect it because it has to do you for your full life. And yes, you do regenerate your skin cells every 6 weeks, but that process slows down. And again, that skin remembers all that damage that you did from your sun holidays, from your burnings as a kid, from your sunbed, from your Lanzarote. It remembers everything and holds it in. And it's only then when you get to be in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, you start seeing that damage coming out.
Yeah. Okay, Selene Daly there's absolutely no excuses really when you think of it. The amount of fake tans that are available on the market now as well. I mean, years ago you didn't have that, but they're everywhere now and they look really, really good. Go get yourself a spray tan and don't be bothering with the sunbed. Selene, lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Great to talk to you.
Bye-bye. It's Ireland's Best Kids Radio.